Ma'am, listen to me. You need to stop screaming on the line and give me the address.
Get up right now. Mommy, go home. Wait, how is it? Get up right now. Baby, wake up. Wake up. What? Courtney?
4 times police were called to this apartment. 4 times they walked away. The 5th call was a body. The woman captured in the video had 2 million followers. The man on the floor behind her was the one she said she loved. In the next few minutes, you're going to hear the story police, prosecutors, and her own defense team spent 4 years fighting to tell. A story that ended not with a jury's verdict, but with 3 words almost nobody expected to hear. I plead guilty. But to understand how it ends, you have to understand how it started. Because 2 years before that night, these were just 2 people who thought they'd found something real. Before he became the headline, Christian Toby Obumseli was just a kid from Plano, Texas. Born in Dallas in 1994, he graduated Plano East Senior High School in 2012, then went on to Texas Tech University, where he studied communication and business. He wasn't chasing fame. He was building something. In 2018, he founded his own company, Wiseman and Peachtree LLC, and later moved into cryptocurrency. Friends and family remembered him as a free spirit, caring, soft-spoken, the kind of guy whose energy pulled people in. By every account, Toby had a future in front of him. Now here's where it gets complicated. Courtney Taylor Clenney grew up in Midland, Texas, before her family moved to Austin when she was a kid. She modeled, she landed small film roles, even an uncredited part in Richard Linklater's Boyhood. But it was social media that made her famous. Courtney Taylor built an audience of over 2 million followers, and a lucrative OnlyFans career that made her one of the platform's most recognizable faces. By the time she met Toby in November 2020, she wasn't just a girlfriend, she was a brand. And that's one thing about this story. 2 people who, on paper, looked like they were living the dream. A crypto entrepreneur, an OnlyFans star, a luxury apartment in one of Miami's most exclusive neighborhoods. But behind closed doors, neighbors were about to learn a very different story. In 2021, the couple moved into a high-rise called One Paraiso in Miami's Edgewater neighborhood, and almost immediately things got loud. The Miami-Dade state attorney would later describe their relationship in blunt terms: extremely tempestuous and combative. Building management documented multiple incidents of screaming, arguments, and disturbances. They were reportedly close to evicting the couple entirely. Police were called to that apartment for domestic disturbances at least 4 times. 4 times, officers walked away without an arrest. 4 warnings, 0 arrests. And on April 3rd, 2022, the 5th call would be the last one. What actually happened inside that apartment that afternoon depends entirely on who you ask. Prosecutors would call it murder, her defense would call it self-defense. And it took 4 years in a case that never made it to trial before the world got an answer. For 4 months after Toby Obumseli was murdered, Courtney Clenney was a free woman. No charges, no arrest. She was even photographed vacationing while police kept building a case behind the scenes. Then on August 10th, 2022, U.S. Marshals quietly closed in on a small town on Hawaii's Big Island. They found her at a rehab facility being treated for PTSD and substance abuse. Her own lawyer later said he was completely shocked. He claimed they'd offered to turn her in voluntarily if charges came. They weren't given the chance. Clenney was taken into custody without incident in Laupahoehoe, a small community on Hawaii's Big Island, and held at the East Hawaii Detention Center before being extradited back to Florida. She was formally charged with second-degree murder with a deadly weapon. Her attorney, Frank Prito, said she'd been in Hawaii receiving treatment, but prosecutors weren't interested in her state of mind in Hawaii, They were interested in what happened in that apartment on April 3rd. Here's where the case turned. According to court documents, Clenney told police she'd thrown the kitchen knife from roughly 10 feet away, a detail that, if true, would support a claim of self-defense, a desperate act of distance, not intent. But the medical examiner disagreed. Forensic evidence, prosecutors said, did not support that account. The wound pattern was consistent with a blow struck at close range, not a knife thrown from across a room. According to the state's case, Clenney was on the phone with her mother when she drove the blade into Obumseli's chest, severing his subclavian artery 10 feet or close enough to feel his breath. That gap between her account and the forensic evidence is what turned this from a tragedy into a murder charge. And this is where the case split the public in two.
On one side, a video reportedly filmed in Aspen just 2 months before Obumseli's death that appeared to show Clenney hitting him repeatedly while he did not fight back. Prosecutors pointed to it and to Fernandez-Rundle's own description of a relationship pattern as evidence Clenney was the aggressor, not the victim. On the other side, Clenney's defense argued the opposite. Her attorney said she had actually kicked Obumseli out of their apartment the week before his death over allegations of abuse, and that those allegations, not hers, were the real story. Her legal team maintained she was the one living in fear, 2 accounts, 1 knife, and a case that, as of August 2022, was heading toward a trial that would have forced a jury to decide who was telling the truth. It didn't. 4 years, multiple delays, and 1 unresolved civil lawsuit later, this case would end a completely different way, with Courtney Clenney standing up in a Miami courtroom and saying 3 words nobody expected. August 10th, 2026, for years to the day since Courtney Clenney was arrested in Hawaii. She was supposed to stand trial in a matter of weeks. Instead, she walked into a Miami courtroom in an orange jail uniform and changed her plea. She stayed composed through most of it. Then Christian Obumseli's mother stood up to speak, and Clenney broke down in tears. This is the story of the deal that ended a 4-year murder case and what it cost and gave back to the people left behind. Just weeks before trial, Clenney's attorneys had been preparing an aggressive defense. They'd recently sought permission to introduce a 2020 animal cruelty allegation against Obumseli, which he had denied. Defense attorney Jack Pomeroy, not directly involved in the case, put the calculation bluntly: nothing is ever a gimme when it comes to trial. Facing up to 30 years if convicted of second-degree murder, Clenney's team negotiated a different outcome, a guilty plea to the lesser charge of manslaughter with a deadly weapon. On August 10, 2026, she formally entered that plea. The sentence, 6 years in prison, with credit for the 4 years she'd already spent in custody since her Hawaii arrest, followed by 5 years of probation. She would also be required to undergo mental health and substance abuse evaluation and treatment. With credit for time served, her attorneys estimated she could be released in as little as 18 to 20 months. Critically, this wasn't a deal struck behind the family's back. Miami State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle stated plainly that the agreement was reached in full consultation and approval of Christian's family. This is the part of the story that isn't about legal strategy. It's about what happened when the lawyers stopped talking and the family stood up. A relative read a statement on behalf of Obumseli's mother.
Thank you. I am Christian's mother. Words can never fully explain how Christian's death has affected my life and the lives of everyone in our family. There is simply too much pain to put on paper. On April 4th, 2022, while I was at work, I received the call that no parent should ever have to receive. I was asked to give consent for my son's eyes to be donated. I had just talked to him the day before and had no knowledge that he had been killed. That was the darkest day of my life. And the darkness continued to unfold as I learned Christian had been killed by his girlfriend, Courtney Clenney, someone he had trusted and loved. Since April 2022, I have lived with fear, anxiety, sleepless nights, heartache, and more tears than I could ever count. 4 years later, there are still nights when I cannot sleep. There are moments when my mind goes back to the last moments of Christian's life. As his mother, those thoughts are very difficult for me to carry. Everyone who knew Christian, who truly knew him, can attest that he was kind-hearted, compassionate, friendly, and respectful. He cared about other people. Christian, I'm so proud of you. I am so proud that I had the privilege of being your mother. Those are the memories that no one can ever take from us and me. Nothing can erase the pain of the day that I buried my son. Nothing can describe what it feels like for a mother to stand at the grave of her child. There are also the things that will never happen for me now that he's gone. The birthdays, the holidays we will not celebrate with him. The conversations we will never have. The person he would have continued to become. Those losses continue much longer after today's court case ends. For more than 4 years, we've lived with the loss every day and waited for accountability. Today closes a legal chapter, but it certainly doesn't close our grief. No sentence, no plea can bring back my son to me. My only hope is to carry his memory forward and to continue healing as a family. My prayer is that after today, Christian will simply not be remembered by the public as a name connected to a criminal case. He was a son. He was a brother. He was a cousin. He was a nephew and a grandson. He was a friend to a lot of people. He was loved. He had a future, and his life had value and mattered.
Family's attorney, Larry Hanfield, read a separate victim impact statement and raised something that had stayed with the family for years. Before calling 911, Clenney had first called her mother, then building security. "To us that is inhumane," Hanfield said on their behalf. Clenney did not address the family directly. According to reports from the hearing, she has not apologized to them for Obumseli's death. Here's why this matters goes beyond the sentence itself. For 4 years, Clenney's defense rested on one claim, self-defense, that she'd thrown the knife from 10 feet away, fearing for her life. A guilty plea to manslaughter doesn't just end the case, legally, it's Clenney admitting responsibility for Obumseli's death. Hanfield put it directly in a statement after the hearing. The plea, he said, undercuts the self-defense narrative Clenney's team had maintained for 4 years. He also pointed to what he called a documented pattern, alleging Clenney had previously cut Obumseli's face and stabbed him in the leg in an earlier incident. Fernandez Rundle framed it as a form of long-delayed justice, saying the plea meant Obumseli's family finally heard Clenney accept full responsibility for his death, and expressed hope that the plea would bring the family a measure of justice that had been too long denied. Clenney's own father, Kim Clenney, spoke to reporters after the hearing too, from a different vantage point entirely. "What matters to me now is that for the first time in more than 4 years, there is an end in sight. Courtney has a future ahead of her. 2 families, 1 outcome, neither one calling it a victory. The family's parallel civil lawsuit against the apartment building over the security failures they alleged contributed to Obumseli's death was also resolved as part of the broader settlement, closing the last open thread of a case that spent 4 years in the public eye. There won't be a trial, there won't be a jury verdict laying out, beyond a reasonable doubt, exactly what happened in that apartment on April 3rd, 2022. What there is instead is a guilty plea, a 6-year sentence, and a mother's statement that no sentence could ever undo what was lost. Christian Obumseli's family got the words they'd waited 4 years to hear. Whether that's the same thing as justice, that's not really something we can answer for you. Leave your comments at respectfully below. If you enjoy true crime stories, kindly subscribe to this channel for more. Thanks for watching.